Dear friend, welcome to this journey through Moses, the servant of God. I'm truly glad you're here. As we begin today's reading, I want to invite you not just to listen to the story of a man who lived thousands of years ago, to see yourself in his journey, because Moses didn't begin as a spiritual giant. His story, like many of ours, began with uncertainty and with a question: where do I stand before God? Let's pause here for a moment. That's the question this first chapter asks us. What is our standpoint? Where are we standing in relation to God, to faith, and to His calling on our lives? The book of Hebrews says, by faith, Moses, just 3 words. But those 3 words are the key to everything that follows. By faith, not by might, not by brilliance, not by charm or charisma. By faith. And Moses isn't alone. The whole chapter in Hebrews, often called the Hall of Faith, is filled with men and women who did remarkable things, but they all say the same thing. It wasn't me. It was God, and all I did was believe. Let's take that in for a second. If we met them today, Gideon, Barak, Jephthah, Samson, we might be surprised. They weren't saints carved in stone. They were rough, wounded, imperfect. Some of them lived like wilderness warriors, gritty and unpredictable. But one thing made them shine in God's eyes: faith. You see, we often assume faith belongs to a few special souls people with unshakable strength, perfect discipline, or pure hearts. But the Bible gives us a completely different picture. Let's pause and reflect on that. Faith, real faith, is not some rare talent. It's the ability to stop trusting ourselves and start trusting God. It's what happens when a heart lets go of its pride and says, God, I believe you can do this even through someone like me. Jesus echoed this again and again. He didn't measure his followers by their strength or performance. He said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, just a mustard seed small, simple but alive. With that, he said, mountains would move, trees would uproot, demons would flee. Let's pause here, this is important. In Mark chapter 9, a desperate father begged Jesus to help his tormented son. Jesus said, if you can believe, all things are possible to him that believes. And the father cried out, I believe. Help my unbelief. What a raw and honest prayer. That's faith too, not perfect but surrendered. Now let's continue. So what is this faith really? It's not bravado. It's not hype. It's not pretending to be okay. Faith is the inward posture that says, I surrender, I yield, I trust you to do what I cannot. It's like holding out your hands empty, open, and saying, Lord, fill me, use me. Here's how the book puts it. Faith is the capacity of the heart to receive God in full and to become the channel through which His life and power can flow into the world. Let that sink in for a moment. What if your life, your ordinary, messy, inconsistent life, could become a channel through which heaven touches earth? That's what happened with Moses. But before the parting of the Red Sea, before the plagues or the tablets of stone, there was silence. 40 years of silence in Midian. 40 years of tending sheep in the desert. No miracles, no platforms, no crowds, just sand, solitude, and the sound of his own thoughts. He had tried once to help his people in his own strength, and it ended in failure, rejection, and fear. He ran, he gave up, he buried the dream. Let's pause. But God wasn't done. And one day, in the middle of nowhere, God lit a bush on fire not to destroy it, but to show that it could burn without being consumed. That burning bush was more than a spectacle. It was a symbol, a picture of what God does with a weak, surrendered life. Moses would become that bush filled with the fire of God, but not burned out. And that's the kind of miracle God is still doing today. Now let's continue. When God called Moses, He didn't say, prove yourself. He said, take off your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground. That's the standpoint the chapter talks about, a place of reverence, surrender, faith. And from that point forward, everything changed. Moses still felt unworthy. He said, who am I? He worried about his words, his reputation, his past. But God wasn't looking for a sum. He was looking for a vessel. The book describes the conditions of true faith, and they're worth remembering. Let's go through them slowly. First, a deep awareness of our own helplessness. Second, a certainty that we're walking in God's plan, not our own. Third, complete surrender like a staff in the hand of its master. Fourth, daily dependence on God's promises. And finally, bold action rooted not in emotion, but in trust. That's what we see in Moses. He prayed the promises of God back to God. He stepped forward when there was no visible path. He staked not only his own life, but the lives of an entire nation on God's faithfulness. And God never failed him. It was faith that made Moses who he was. Let's pause here. Now ask yourself, why not you? Why not now? God hasn't changed. His power hasn't weakened. His promises haven't expired. Could we see a new exodus in our generation? Could we see hearts delivered from fear, souls rescued from bondage, families healed, lives made new? Absolutely. But it starts the same way it did back then, with a person willing to believe. So, dear friend, are you willing to let go of your strength and receive God's? Are you ready to surrender your plan for His? To feed on His promises like daily bread? To trust not in how you feel, but in who He is? If so, then yes, God will work through you. Maybe in ways the world will see, maybe in ways only heaven knows. But either way, your life will become a vessel for His glory. As this age races toward its conclusion, God is moving. And He's still looking for people of faith just like Moses. Will you be one of them? Let this be your burning bush moment. Let this be the start of something new. Thank you for listening today. If this message stirred something in you, I invite you to subscribe, share, and walk with us through the next chapter. Together, we're following the journey of Moses and learning how God can still shape ordinary lives for extraordinary purposes. We'll see you in chapter 2.